There is one beverage sitting in millions of refrigerators right now, marketed aggressively as a cornerstone of healthy living that the Japanese medical community has quietly set aside, not because of some ancient tradition, not because of a cultural preference, because of the science. And once you understand what's actually happening inside your body when you drink it, you will never look at that label the same way again. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're gonna walk away with something far more valuable than a health tip. You're gonna walk away with a framework for seeing through the entire system of health marketing that has been misleading you for decades. And the practical swap I'll share in section 4, it takes less effort than what you're already doing. More on that in a moment. Let's start with a question that should bother you more than it probably does. Picture a typical morning. You're trying to do something good for your body. You reach for a tall glass of orange juice, or maybe one of those green bottled smoothies. The label says 100% natural. The color looks vibrant. Every advertisement you've ever seen confirms this is the responsible, health-conscious choice. Now picture the average Japanese doctor starting their morning. Same intention, completely different beverage. A cup of unsweetened green tea, or simply warm water. No label, no branding. No sunrise imagery promising you a better life. Here's what's strange about that contrast. Japan consistently ranks among the highest in the world for life expectancy. Their rates of metabolic disease, obesity, and diet-related illness are some of the lowest among developed nations. And yet, the beverage that has anchored the Western healthy breakfast for 50 years is largely absent from that picture. So the question we need to sit with is this: how can something literally made from fruit be a problem? That question is exactly what this video is going to answer. To understand what's happening, you need to understand the difference between two types of sugar. Not in complicated biochemistry terms, in terms that actually matter for your daily life. The first type is called intrinsic sugar. This is the sugar locked inside the cell walls of a whole fruit. It arrives in your body packaged with fiber, water, and a network of nutrients that work together to slow down how quickly that sugar enters your bloodstream. Think of it like a time-release capsule. The sugar is real, but the delivery is controlled. The second type is called free sugar. This is what remains when you remove all of that packaging. It's unbound, it moves fast, and when it hits your liver, it behaves almost identically to what happens when you drink a can of soda. When you eat a whole orange, the fiber acts like a speed limit on a highway. Your body processes the sugar gradually, your insulin rises slowly, and the system stays balanced. But when you drink the juice of 4 oranges, you've stripped away every piece of that protective fiber and delivered a concentrated sugar load in a matter of seconds. Here's what that triggers inside your body. Your pancreas, responding to the sudden surge, releases a large wave of insulin to handle the overload. Blood sugar drops hard and fast. Within an hour, you feel tired, foggy, and oddly hungry again. Not because you lack discipline, because your biology is responding exactly as it should to an unnatural input. That cycle is sometimes called the spike and crash loop, and it is one of the single most consistent barriers to focus and sustained energy throughout the day. But there's a more serious concern beyond the energy crash. Researchers studying non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a condition that sounds alarming but is increasingly common even among people who consider themselves healthy eaters, have identified excess fructose consumption as one of its primary dietary drivers. When your liver receives more fructose than it can process in one sitting, it doesn't discard the excess. It converts it into fat and stores it. This is happening at rising rates, largely because people have been told that juice is health food. The takeaway from this section is one idea, and it's worth letting it land fully. Just because something came from fruit does not mean it still behaves like fruit inside your body. Now let's bring in the cultural contrast that makes this topic so compelling. The dominant philosophy in Japanese medical and wellness culture isn't about finding the most nutrient-dense beverage. It's about not burdening the body unnecessarily. That's a subtle but profound reframe. The question isn't, what's in this drink? The question is, what does this drink ask my body to do? Plain water and unsweetened green tea are the two cornerstones of Japanese hydration culture. Green tea, particularly high-quality matcha, is valued not just for its antioxidants, specifically a class of compounds called catechins, which act like a cleanup crew for cellular damage, but for what it doesn't contain. No sweeteners, no artificial flavors, no liquid calories that confuse the body's appetite signal. There is also a cultural concept worth understanding here. Hara hachibu, loosely translated, means eating and drinking to roughly 80% fullness. It's a guiding principle in regions of Japan known for exceptional longevity. And here's the problem with juice when viewed through that lens. Liquid calories make this principle almost impossible to follow. When you eat solid food, your stomach physically expands. Hormones are released that signal satiety, and your body naturally slows down. When you drink calories, those signals are largely bypassed. The body does not register a glass of juice as a meal, even when it contains as many calories as one. This is why liquid calories are uniquely problematic for weight management and energy regulation. Japanese practitioners also lean toward room temperature or warm beverages, particularly around meals. The reasoning is rooted in digestive efficiency. Cold beverages, the thinking goes, may slow gastric activity and add unnecessary stress to the gastrointestinal system. Western medical consensus is still developing on this specific point, but the practical implication is simple. If your morning routine involves a cold glass of juice, the temperature alone may be working against your digestive comfort, even before we get to the sugar question. This is where the video becomes useful in a very immediate way, because most people abandon health advice not because they disagree with it, but because the alternative feels like more work. So let's compare directly. Making a glass of juice takes about 5 minutes. You need a juicer or a trip to the store, and there's cleanup involved. Eating a whole orange takes roughly 2 minutes. 0 equipment, 1 item in the trash. The healthier option is also the lazier one, which turns out to be a surprisingly powerful motivator. There's also something called the chewing effect that's worth understanding. The act of chewing does more than mechanically break down food. It sends signals to your brain that eating is occurring. Saliva production begins the digestive process earlier. Satiety hormones get activated. None of this happens when you drink your calories. Liquids are essentially invisible to the hunger regulation system. Your body doesn't count them as food in the same way it counts solids, which is why it's entirely possible to drink 300 calories of juice and feel no different than you did before you picked up the glass. The most common objection at this point is time. I don't have time to peel fruit every morning. The answer is simple. You don't have to eat it in the morning. An orange in your bag for a mid-morning break is more filling, more satisfying, and more nutritionally complete than the juice you had at 7 a.m. It's not about adding a wellness ritual. It's about shifting when and in what form the habit shows up. And here is the 3-day challenge I want to leave you with. Swap 1 glass of juice for a whole piece of fruit and a glass of water for just 3 days. That's the only ask. No gym membership, no supplements, no meal prep, just a different item in your grocery cart. Let's talk about something that will make you a more intelligent consumer well beyond this single topic. There's a concept called the health halo effect. It describes what happens when one genuinely positive feature of a product creates a blind spot for everything negative about it. Orange juice is the clearest example in modern food marketing. It does contain vitamin C, that part is accurate. But the presence of vitamin C has been leveraged to market past the sugar content, the absent fiber, and the liquid calorie problem. One true thing becomes an umbrella that covers everything else. You see this pattern across dozens of products. Made with real fruit juice, all natural, no added sugar, fortified with vitamins. These phrases are technically accurate. They are also carefully designed to create a false impression of overall nutritional value. Here is a simple rule for the grocery aisle. If the primary ingredient is a liquid form of something that would be healthier eaten whole, you are almost certainly looking at a health halo product. The label is selling you the association with health, not the reality of it. A few objections come up consistently, and they deserve honest answers. What about vitamin C? Yes, juice contains it. So does the whole fruit, along with fiber, water, and a network of other compounds that appear to work synergistically in ways researchers are still mapping. Extracting one nutrient from its natural context doesn't guarantee you preserve its full benefit. What if I make it fresh myself? Isn't that different? It's meaningfully better than bottled juice with preservatives and sweeteners, yes. But the core issue remains unchanged. Fresh squeeze still delivers no fiber, concentrated sugar, and liquid calories. The freshness of the source doesn't change the physics of how your liver processes fructose. Healthy eating is expensive. Pull up the price comparison on this one. A bottle of premium cold-pressed green juice commonly runs $5 to $8. A bag of oranges costs roughly the same and lasts a week. The whole food version is almost always the more affordable choice. I can't stand the taste of plain water. Try infused water, cucumber, lemon, mint, or a few berries left to steep overnight. It's visually appealing, costs almost nothing, and delivers subtle flavor without any of the sugar load. That's the practical middle ground for anyone who needs flavor but wants to move away from liquid sugar. Let's zoom out from juice for a moment and talk about why this specific habit matters beyond the sugar question. The choice you make first thing in the morning has an outsized effect on every decision that follows. Choosing water or tea instead of juice does more than protect you from a blood sugar spike. It starts your day with stable, even energy. Stable energy means clearer focus in the first few hours of work. Clearer focus means fewer stress-driven snack decisions by mid-morning. Fewer bad snack decisions mean steadier energy through the afternoon. Steadier energy means you're more likely to make a reasonable dinner choice instead of reaching for whatever requires zero thought at 7 p.m. This is what behavioral researchers call a keystone habit. One small, consistent change that quietly tilts every adjacent decision in a better direction. The morning beverage choice is a perfect keystone because it happens before the day has had a chance to complicate things. It's a moment of low resistance and high impact. If you want to stack this habit even more effectively, try drinking a full glass of water the moment you wake up, before you check your phone or reach for anything else. It's a tiny act that places hydration before stimulation, which is the exact opposite of the sugar-first, dopamine-first morning routine most of us have drifted into by default. Let's bring this together into 3 things you can do before this video ends. First, the label check. Before buying any bottled beverage marketed as healthy, identify where the sweetness is coming from. If any form of sugar, juice concentrate, or syrup appears in the first 3 ingredients, set it down. And remember, no added sugar on a fruit juice label doesn't mean no free sugar. It just means the sugar was already in the fruit before they pressed it. Second, the whole food rule. Eat your fruit, don't drink it. Every time you feel the pull toward juice, ask yourself if the actual fruit is available instead. It's more filling, more nutritious, and in most cases, faster and cheaper. This isn't deprivation. It's choosing the version of the same thing that your body can actually use fully. Third, the temperature shift. Replace 1 cold beverage per day with something warm or room temperature. Green tea, warm water with lemon, or plain hot water. You're not committing to a lifestyle overhaul. You're running a small experiment that the Japanese medical community has been conducting for centuries. Pay attention to how your digestion feels. Notice your energy across the day. Give it 1 week. Japanese longevity isn't built on superfoods or rigid protocols. It's built on a relationship with the body that asks a different question. Not, does this label say healthy? But how does this actually work inside me? That shift in thinking, applied across dozens of small decisions every day, is what separates people who feel sharp and energized at 80 from those who feel depleted and foggy at 40. Drinking water instead of juice won't transform your life by Thursday, but it reflects a way of seeing. And once you start seeing this way, you will find the same pattern everywhere. The single nutrient used to obscure the full picture. The marketing that exploits your desire to do something good for yourself. The small, boring, consistent choice that quietly outperforms the exciting looking one every single time. Eat like a doctor. Live like a legend. Not because you followed a trend, but because you learned to see through the ones designed to exploit you. If you've been drinking juice every morning and this video made you rethink that, drop a comment below.